Portland, Oregon, a city that is home to hundreds of thousands of people, one professional basketball team, and many breathtaking landscapes. It is in this city that a group of men and women would converge to become the inaugural class of the MAML program, a degree program at George Fox Evangelical Seminary. These ministry leaders would traverse the country to participate in a journey that would ultimately change their lives, leaving spouses, children, and work responsibilities behind. These women and men would step up to the challenge of reorienting their lives to include a 3-year online degree program that would put them and their faith in a position of vulnerability. This is their story, a story of the good, the bad, the ugly, and perhaps most importantly, the funny. For these ministry leaders, sitting in the presence of God and drawing upon His scriptural revelation is a lifelong pursuit. But in the course of one semester, the first semester, these students would encounter the Old Testament in a way that would prove to be world-shattering. Who knew that an in-depth study of the book of Amos could be so eye-opening? Who knew that the book of Genesis would take on a whole new meaning when viewed alongside the creation narratives of many other ancient cultures? Who knew that the Psalms of exile and despair could prove to be so painful? And who knew that the false prophets of the Old Testament would be the same type of false prophets who would emerge in our current cultural climate? But perhaps the greatest Old Testament stories came to life not with inductive studies and biblical analysis, but with the incorporation of Will Smith. Dr. Del Marter's class was undoubtedly a profound way to begin this journey.
Another seminary professor whose life and teaching will forever be etched into the students' minds is Dr. Bruner. Dr. Bruner's ability to navigate history, theology, and spirituality proved to be unmatched. His ability to teach Christian history and reduce all of our doctrinal presuppositions down to 2, yes, I said 2 elements, was absolutely astounding. For those of you who didn't catch them, those elements are Christology and Trinity. Dr. Bruner's classes would prove to be an enlightening time for us, but the reality of Signe's illness and eventually her passing would not escape us. We're thankful that Dr. Bruner allowed us to journey with him during this very difficult season. Coming alongside these great seminary professors would be influential ministry practitioners. Learning from Jason Clark, the Earl of all things missiology, was a great first semester experience. His heart for the broken and disenfranchised in London really resonated with us. We're very thankful to have gleaned from his experience in life and ministry. Alan Hirsch, a man who needs no introduction, is known for his thoughts and writings on the missional church movement. Alan's belief in the Holy Spirit to equip and empower Jesus movements, as he calls them, would leave a lasting impression on us. Having worked in Europe, Australia, and the United States, it was quite encouraging to hear that he still believes that the North American church can affect change. It was Alan's most pointed question, though, that hit us like a stack of bricks. What would Jesus brew? And then there was Joseph Myers, a man with many books. Hearing from Joseph was a unique experience. His thoughts on organizational structures and systems would challenge many of our common notions, but it was a welcome challenge. What better way to end that course than to realize that the final project, whatever it was, would culminate much sooner than expected. While certainly these professors and practitioners both have played an immeasurable and vital part in our seminary experience, it is really the shared community with one another that has forever changed our lives. City boys and city girls, West Coast comrades, those infamous Montana men, the South Florida native, and even a Mennonite from Kansas. Developing and establishing community would prove to be the single most unifying element of this journey. From one face-to-face event to the next, cohort members eagerly anticipated the moment for reunion fellowship. God's hand in bringing this group together cannot be ignored, and we will no doubt carry these wonderful relationships with us long after the program is completed.
Jason and Carol are going to talk a little bit about the bad, some of the tough stuff that we've dealt with MAML 07.
When I think back, one of the things that was disappointing for me, so it was a bad thing, was not getting to have Dr. Morris for the 2 classes that we were going to have her for. You know, that was an unfortunate thing. It was great to have her for face-to-face, so that was sort of a little bit of redemption there.
Sure.
Some things that you remember and think about.
I think one of the things, and I guess there's no way around it, because it's online, it's a virtual learning community,
Yeah.
but some of the technological glitches every once in a while, you know, not getting early enough access to the course site every semester. Even some of the text chats that we had were really hard to keep up with. when you're just reading line after line of what we're saying in a free-for-all.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the beast.
Or Shame and Grace, when we were doing those online hour-long talks that we had, computers were not working well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think given the nature of the online learning environment, you expect glitches with that, but I think one of the hardest things was watching some of our own cohort members go through stuff, particularly those that have lost loved ones during our time together. It's very real, walking alongside them during that time can be difficult, as well as all the job changes and career changes.
Yeah, there was a lot. I think it just also that realization of sometimes what we were learning in our classes and seeing how the disconnect with our own reality, our own experiences in church, the challenges of some of the decisions that were made by people, leaving churches, feeling disconnected within their own church environments. That's a bad, I think.
Yeah.
The ugly. No one likes to speak of it, but to ignore it leaves the picture incomplete. The test of true community comes when adversity strikes, and each of us has faced a moment when we have wondered if we would make it through this thing called seminary. Sadly, some left our group because of life circumstances or other opportunities. The life of a Mammal student has never been dull. The delicate balance of family, ministry, and school has challenged all of us. We've given up precious sleep just to do our homework. It's not unheard of for a person to miss a deadline or interactions because of other responsibilities. From dealing with our job responsibilities to picking up kids we've adopted from Ethiopia, moves from one corner of the country to the opposite, a roof being blown off a house. Yes, the ins and outs of our daily lives have added a level of intrigue to this experience. Not every class started out well. And for those of us in this community, American church history was like a belly flop on pavement. Putting a tight-knit online community together with a professor who interacts better and is used to a classroom environment turned out to form an explosive beginning. A few posts into the class, people were feeling a sense that the safety we had worked so hard to achieve had been compromised. Finding a resolution was a test of grace that is needed in this type of learning environment.
When a group this size is together for this long, there are bound to be some laughs. I think many of us chuckle a bit when we think back to the book Consuming Religion in Jason Clark's class. This is one of the first books we read in our very first semester together, and several of us felt like we'd never make it through a program with material this difficult. Speaking of Jason Clark, his British roots created a fun little situation when he didn't want to give us a break for Thanksgiving. Bitter, Jason? Thankfully, our unofficial spokesperson, Brian, stood up for us and got us a little break. Another of our profs hailing from outside the U.S., Alan Hirsch, stirred us up a bit when he called ordination the doctrine of the devils. Well, at least he stirred up those of us who are ordained. And who can forget many funny memories at the Carter's home, including Andy's little mishap with John Honen's rental car and Doug's lovely pajama modeling from the gift exchange. We've laughed and cried together, and we've been in the same room, or chat room at least, while some of the foundations of our faith have been rocked. When a group of people shares these kind of memories and this roller coaster of emotions, special bonds are formed. And even though we won't have a formal place to interact after spring 2010, the ties we've formed will keep us close for many years to come.